Yo, 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 what's up, people? We back. Another day on Keep It G News. And today I'm giving y'all an update from a story we covered about 5-6 months ago. I think I was the first one to actually cover the story because I had the inside source. Shout out to my man Turning Productions out Virginia, man. You know. But do y'all remember this?
This is outside of Rich Neck Elementary School in Newport News, Virginia, where a 6-year-old student shot and wounded a Virginia teacher during an altercation inside a first-grade classroom. That's according to police and school officials there in the city of Newport News.
Female victim, she's been shot in the abdomen as well as a through and through into the hand.
I've been doing okay. I've gone through a lot of obstacles and challenges. Some days are not so good days where I can't get up out of bed. Some days are better than others where I'm able to get out of bed and make it to my appointments. But, you know, from going through what I've gone through, I try to stay positive, you know, try to have a positive outlook on what's happened and where my future's heading. The initial gunshot went through my left hand and ruptured the middle bone as well as the index finger and the thumb. The gunshot then went into my chest up here where it actually still remains. So I have a scar up here and I still have some bullet fragments up here. So, yes.
Do you think it will always be there, or do they think they'll remove it someday?
I think it'll always be there. At first it really shook me up. They were open wounds that I could see, and seeing an open wound on your body and remembering how you got it is pretty traumatizing in itself. I think it's been helpful now that they've scarred over, but it's still a reminder that, hey, this happened to you. This is what your body's been through. I remember a lot. The morning it felt like just a regular school day, but I started hearing things and things started happening that made my fear grow. As the day went on, it grew more, my fear grew more. I remember him pointing the gun at me. I remember the look on his face. I remember the gun going off. I remember feeling something. It was a pretty scary day. I was terrified. In that moment, my initial reaction was, your kids need to get out of here. You know, this is not a safe classroom anymore, and then you need to go find help for yourself. It was pretty shocking. You know, once the firearm went off, and then I felt something, that shock itself that I had been shot.
You knew you had been shot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was pretty shocking itself. But I just wanted to get my babies out of there.
Does he talk about the incident?
No. We talk, we play, we, do Uno, draw pictures, like nothing of the incident. I wasn't even able to get dressed. I ran out in PJs to the school.
Well, in my opinion, he processes the events leading up to it. He talks a lot more about the day before or the 2 days before than he does about January 6th.
He has ADHD, or some are able to have it at a very mild rate, but he's off the wall, doesn't sit still ever. He ended up working with another doctor. He had started medication and he was meeting his goals academically. He actually really liked her. I will say that week he did come home and he was talking, a lot about how he felt like he was being ignored. So he would come home and, Mom, I don't think that she was listening to me. I didn't like that. And then actually he ended up getting suspended the next day because he was in class. He was trying to tell her something, and she asked him to go sit back down. He threw his arms up, he said, fine. And when he threw his arms up, he knocked her phone out of her hand on accident. And he got suspended for that.
How did your son access the gun?
Nobody knows.
No one knows.
You'd have to ask him.
What was your reaction to those charges?
I am not sure. It was shocking. It still is a little shocking.
Do you feel in any way responsible for the shooting?
Yes, of course. That is my son. So I am, as a parent, obviously willing to take responsibility for him because he can't take responsibility for himself. I mean, of course, I don't believe that that is fair, but anything for my baby.
Do you feel that there is some racial component to it?
Absolutely. I think that if the dynamics were different, if the teacher was maybe looking like me and the student was Caucasian or another nationality, it wouldn't be as pumped up as much. So I'd like to say that I'm glad you're doing better. I'm sorry that you got hurt. Just like I'm sorry that the kids in that classroom had to witness such a terrible incident. But on the same token, I'm really sorry my great-grandson had to go through this ordeal.
I just truly would like to apologize that, out of the incident, she did get hurt. We were actually kind of forming like a relationship with me having to be in the classroom. And she was a really bright person.
So what I basically just did right there, I just took y'all through the whole series of events. From the time when the news first broke that Abby's Warner was shot, to the interviews that she and the mother of the 6-year-old child, Deja Taylor, did afterwards. Because I felt like it was important so we all on the same level. Because some people might have missed it, even though they was aware of this story. They might didn't know all of these things took place afterwards. But now we have an update because it seemed like to me that Deja Taylor maybe or maybe not on her way to prison. The mother of a Rich Neck elementary school student who police say shot his teacher in January is now facing federal gun charges and plans to plead guilty to them, according to her attorney. Court documents state Deja Taylor, the mother of the 6-year-old boy who police say shot teacher Abby Warner, faces federal charges of unlawful user of a controlled substance and possession of a firearm and making a false statement during the purchase of a firearm. It states she was unlawful user of marijuana. Taylor's attorney, James Ellison, says she will plead guilty to that charge. Deja Taylor will enter pleas to the charges that were filed today as information by the U.S. Attorney's Office of the Eastern District of Virginia. The information was agreed procedure, which eliminated the need for a government to take the case to a grand jury. Our actions follow very constructive negotiations we had with federal authorities. The terms of the agreement, which we believe to be fair to all parties, will be disclosed when we enter the guilty plea. That should occur later this week or next. We intend to present mitigating evidence that we trust the court will review favorably at sentencing later this year following preparation of pre-sentence report. We thank the U.S. Attorney's Office for its good faith participation in discussions. The shooting that occurred on January 6, 2023 at Rich Neck Elementary School was a tragedy for all parties, most especially teacher Abby Warner, for whom we wished a complete recovery. Taylor was indicted in April by a grand jury on charges of felony child neglect and misdemeanor reckless leaving of a loaded firearm as to endangering a child. The court filing states that on or about July 19, 2022, Taylor knew she was an unlawful user of a controlled substance in possession of a firearm, a Taurus model PT-111 G2A 9mm semi-automatic handgun. It also states that she knowingly made false and fictitious written statements to wine-free firearms, that she was not an unlawful user of marijuana, when in fact she then knew she was an unlawful user of marijuana. Jeannie Rosser, the lead attorney of Deja Taylor's federal case, called this case a Shakespearean tragedy, a perfect storm that had terrible consequences, a vulnerable teacher whose life was almost taken, a boy 6 years of age, and a mother whose life will never be the same. So the details are still a little bit sketchy. Now we know she's pleading guilty. We don't know how much time she's facing, but she did work out a deal with the prosecutors. And I'm going to be honest. I like saying this, I like saying parents being held accountable for their kids' actions, Hopefully that'll make, put more pressure on the parents to be better at their job. And I got to point this out because every time I cover these stories, it's always one thing glaring. I'm talking about they all share the same thing, and that's no fathers around. Deja Taylor sat there with her interview with her grandfather or father, whoever he was, but he wasn't the father of the 6-year-old. Keep telling y'all ladies, fathers make a difference. I know right now we on this war path between black men and black women, but it ain't working. Straight up. We got to mend our relationships and get better at parenting together because it's hurting the kids. Now, another thing that they mentioned in Deja Taylor interview, she said the father think it was some racial components to all this. And it may be. But I got to be honest, I got to be fair.
Set a precedent when it comes to holding parents responsible for crimes committed by their child. A Michigan appeals court is deciding whether to bring charges against the parents of school shooter Ethan Crumbley. Trevor Ault has the details. Good morning, Trevor.
Good morning, George. This may be the first time in America that the parents of a school shooter are also charged. And prosecutors say while Ethan Crumbley opened fire in that school, his parents acted so egregiously, ignoring warning signs and buying their son that gun, that they also have to be held criminally responsible. This morning, a Michigan appeals court weighing whether unprecedented charges against the parents of Michigan school shooter Ethan Crumbley can continue to trial.
What things did they do or not do that led to these events?
The case is the first of its kind. James and Jennifer Crumbley are charged with 4 counts each of involuntary manslaughter. Prosecutors say gross negligence makes them at least partially responsible for their son Ethan's November 2021 rampage, when he killed 4 classmates and injured 7 others, including a teacher.
You know, what's the precedent we're going to set here? I mean, there are a lot of families with kids who might not be as stable as the parents would like them to be.
Prosecutors allege the Crumbleys bought the weapon then 15-year-old Ethan used to carry out the massacre with Ethan's money, even though prosecutors say he displayed obvious mental health issues, allegedly having hallucinations a month before the shooting. They say in the weeks prior, the school reported to the parents Ethan was searching ammunition in class, to which Jennifer Crumbley allegedly texted her son, "LOL, you have to learn not to get caught."
There were warning signs all over the place.
Officials say the day of the massacre, Ethan was called to a counselor's office having drawn a disturbing drawing showing a gun, a person shot, and phrases like "blood everywhere" and "the thoughts won't stop, help me." Tuesday, the judges questioned why the Crumbleys didn't take him home or even hug him when they were called to the school that morning.
James Crumbley did not know that EC had access to that firearm.
He bought him the gun.
Well, and the first thing he did when he heard about the school shooting was go back home to see if the gun was there.
The Crumbleys' attorneys admitted the parents made tremendously bad decisions, but argue they and the school believed Ethan was only a threat to himself. They argue pursuing these charges would set a dangerous precedent, potentially holding parents responsible for any crime committed by their child.
As a parent, I don't owe a legal duty to every kid at my 4 kids' schools. I don't owe a legal duty to every person my child encounters on the street.
And even the prosecutors say charging parents with their children's crime should require some extreme facts, but they believe that is the case here. And the panel of 3 judges will now decide if there's enough evidence for it to go to trial.
Now, I know this kind of like apples to oranges. You talking about a 6-year-old, and you talking about a teenager that was well aware of his decision making. But it's still a win either way. Now, when I first thought about this case with Ethan Crump and his whole situation, I thought that they were charged, but it looked like to me they're still trying to decide if these charges are going to, push to the next level. Arraignment status. They might still be in a preliminary stage. I'm going to keep an eye out on that as well, because there is no way that Deja Taylor is going to get charged. And she got some hefty charges. And these parents not going to get charged when it was so many glaring signs that their child had issues and they actually brought them the gun. So they should be just as liable as the child. So I'm going to see how it all playing out. At the end of the day, I think this was a win. I don't think she deserved no extensive jail time, depending on the level of neglect. Like, we still don't got the details. We still don't know how the 6-year-old got the gun. Was it locked up? Was it, how did he get it? We still don't know. But more details should come out later on, and I'm going to be on top of the story to cover it for y'all and give y'all the news. But let me know how y'all feel about this in the comments. How much time do y'all think she deserved for this situation, if any? And do y'all still think it was some racial components to this? You think if everything was different and it was a white kid shooting a black teacher, do you think it would have got the same amount of coverage? Let me know in the comments. Just keep it G News, and I'm out.
It's a plan, people feel like I'm stuck. It's seeping deep, but don't be smoking shit that you ain't roll up. I'm trying to teach you. Niggas singing up their nose on the low and think I don't know it. Mama lying for my bro, cause we wrong and think I don't know it. If it was get it poppin' time on the grind and I jailed on you, God, please take my breath from my body. I failed, bro. I've been in every war, holding every shield, swinging every sword. I stood and never ran. Why would you lie and try to steal my glory? Put that on my stripes. I ain't never back down or folded up in my life. I've been thugging like this. I've been thugging like this. I've been thugging like this. I've been thugging like. If I'm lying, God, take my sight. Never let a bro starve in my life. I've been thugging like this. I've been thugging like this. I've been thugging like this. I've been thugging like mama.